This channel is sponsored by Pro Football Focus. NFL, college, and fantasy data for every player, every play, every game. Visit ProFootballFocus.com to learn more. Welcome back to Franchise Nation. I am your host, Moonlightswami, and today I am bringing you guys the prospect profile number 2 for the New Orleans Saints franchise Season 1. Today we're looking at linebackers. And by linebackers, we mean 4-3 outside backers and all middle linebackers. Because we play a 4-3, it's important to be able to look at all of these players. So we're looking at 3 positions overall, which means that this is going to be broken up into 2 videos. So without further ado, let's get into it. The number 1 linebacker on my board is Marian Drayton out of Texas. He's 6'5", 241 at 23 years old. He is a big hitter. I mean, a really big hitter. And not only that, he can get off blocks well, he can tackle, he has speed, he has strength. He is just a freak of nature. He is a prototypical player who can play 3-4 backer, outside backer. He can play all the positions. Mike, Will, Sam, doesn't matter. And you can just see that he's always in a position to lay somebody out. He is clearly the best linebacker, and he's a high projected first-round pick. I would be surprised if he makes it out of the top 10, which means that he probably will be outside of our price range, but he is a phenomenal player, and if he is there, he will be very hard to pass up in the middle of that first round. Just an excellent player, really excels at everything. His coverage skills need a little bit of work, but with his speed and athleticism, he can get it done, guaranteed. Next up, we have Zach Hogan out of Wisconsin. He's an interesting player. He's 6 foot, he's 255 at 22 years old. He's a good tackler, a very good tackler. And he is a coverage linebacker, so he's a smart player. But the issues with Zach Hogan are more so his speed and his change of direction ability. While he's a good player, he's a player who you can find might not get to the ball carrier fast enough. And that's going to be a problem for him at the next level. He doesn't look that fast, and at 22 years old, he has time to refine his skills. But as an overall player, I worry if he can be an effective player at the next level. He is a projected first-round pick, but he's definitely not number 1 on my board. He's number 8. Next up, we have Markeith Ridley out of Tennessee. 6'2", 243 at 23 years old. Another prototypical linebacker. This guy hits hard. He is a big hitter, just like Drayton. And not only that, but he can tackle, he can get off blocks, and he can pursue the ball carrier with the best of them. Great pursuit angles, someone that is going to be a close first-round pick. He could probably play off the edge or at linebacker. He's that good. He probably fits in best as a 4-3, probably strong side linebacker. Next up, we have Shad Houston out of Ole Miss. 6'2", 232. And he's a player who, again, is another edge-type guy. He's a little bit light to be playing on the edge, but he can fly around. A projected second-round pick, Shad Houston, is pretty good in coverage, but he makes his money in run defense. He is an excellent block shedder, but he flies around the field at only 232 pounds, as you can see. He is a star at Ole Miss, and at 22 years old, he has a lot of time to grow as well. Not exactly a big hitter, but he does make plays everywhere on the field, very similar to Telvin Smith. Next up from TCU, we have Delton Mccarran, 6 foot 242. He is the best coverage linebacker in this draft. He is a zone guy who is also a very fluid blitzer out of the inside backer spot. Not a very good hitter, not very refined in terms of his skills, but he is a player that you do see who can become a very good, talented linebacker in the NFL, even just as a coverage specialist. I don't know if you can expect him to do too much in terms of being an every down backer, but he is someone who I think can develop well. He's a projected 5th round pick, but he's my 10th linebacker on the board, which is pretty good. There are guys who are projected in the rounds above him that I have below him because I really do think Delton Mccarran could be a good player. He reminds me a bit of Zach Brown, someone who's fast, who can fly around, who's a good coverage guy, but he's not exactly someone that you want to rely on in terms of being a tackler and maybe even a run stopper. So something to consider. He's a good player, but definitely not someone who you're going to want to take in the first few rounds. But if you can get him in the 4th or 5th round, I think he could be a steal. Next up, we have, out of Kent State, John Celestin. He's 6'2", 248, a little bit slower. He's a good tackler, but he is the hardest hitter most likely in this draft class. Celestin definitely struggles with change of direction, and he's not exactly quick. But if he can square you up, he is going to lay you out. His form and his tackling definitely needs some work. He will miss a lot of tackles because he is going for that big hit, but he can track people down, and he is a good player. He's someone who is projected as a 4th round pick. He kind of reminds me of a Brandon Spikes. I'm not sure about him particularly in coverage, but he is a pretty good player, and he's someone who might not have a role as big in the NFL these days, but he should be good. And lastly, we have Devon Park out of Boston College. 6', 232. He's another good coverage player. He's light, he can move, he's a projected 3rd round pick, and he might not be Luke Kuechly coming out of Boston College. And that light frame can get him in trouble occasionally. But he can hit decently, he can tackle pretty well, but he does have a nose for the football. He can get around that edge and make some big plays because of his speed. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Moonlightswami, and I'll be talking to you guys later. Next episode, we'll have the rest of the linebackers. Peace!